One Voice and Brenda. We are with Brian Boyd, who is helping us build the brand new One Voice Ministries Network, OVTV. Now, we've been telling you all about it, and we've been getting you excited for how to be part of that. And we wanted to bring him on today so we could share a little bit about some of the features, everything that OVTV is going to be doing, and how it's going to bless your life and be able to bring prophetic ministry into your home on demand when you want to see it. And it'll just be one place where you can go right in and get that ministry that you're hungry for. And I'll say this before we get into OVTV, is we've just finished the brand new studio at One Voice Ministries and Lord of Hosts Church right on the campus, and we're getting ready to build the new level set for the flagship program. Just finished with the Daily Decree set, the Daily Decree Live, and so all of that is coming together. And so Hank and I, we are just so very excited.
Starting a new program, and here's the thing, I don't even have a name for it yet.
Doesn't have a name yet.
We just know that we're supposed to do it, but this is what's great, Brenda, is being able to create our own platform to not be deplatformed. So we're very, very
like
excited.
you say, you know, we have all of these other platforms out there, and they've served us, but you know, when you're dealing with platforms where they don't support the gospel, they don't support conservative values, they don't support truth, right? Okay, they don't support what the Word of God declares and what we feel heaven is telling us to declare prophetically. They can take you off, and I feel like this is a time to Brian and Hank to blitz the airwaves with truth. So I want to let Brian talk a little bit about how OVTV is going to work and how you'll be able to access some of the amazing content coming out of Lord of Hosts Church and One Voice Ministries. Welcome, Brian.
Thanks, Pastor. Thanks, Pastor. It really is exciting because we all know there have been challenges with other platforms with content disappearing.
Yes.
Or
content disappearing.
I've never heard of that happen. Have you?
Yeah, sure.
Or the inability of people to access the content or even find it. It's difficult to find it. They change the way it looks, and where was it? It's not here. It's now somewhere else. We've had a sneak peek of OVTV, and it's really, really exciting because one, it's easy to navigate. So anybody can find the content very simply through the show name, through the speaker name. If I want to see all the Pastor Brenda content, I click Pastor Brenda, and there's everything Pastor Brenda's ever been on.
That is amazing.
The second thing is OVTV is going to be everywhere. So I'm sure a lot of people have Apple TVs or Rokus or even an iPhone. Well, the OVTV app is going to be on the web, on iPhones, Android phones, which a lot of folks in India and other countries live on Android phones, right? Because they're very inexpensive there. Fire TV, Apple TV, Roku TV, Xbox.
Even Xbox. I mean, who would ever have thought of Xbox?
But and all the smart TVs, the Samsungs, LGs, all will have the capability to play the OVTV channel.
That's amazing.
So the exciting thing is, as you create all this great faith-based content, we can deploy it once. A little geeky here, but you deploy it once, and all these platforms can time.
Wow, that is
so
amazing.
It'll be actually difficult for people not to see your content because it's going to be so easy to find and access.
Well, and what's amazing about this, Brian, and this is where I'd love for your techie wisdom. You know, you are the guys in school that I always wanted to be friends with because you're smart.
I don't know if I had a lot of friends in school.
like that, you know, but always had the ability to, you know, have wisdom and knowledge. But here's the thing. So, Mike, I guess I'm looking at it like typical, if a person has a program, for example, on like a broadcast channel or whatever, you know, you have a certain river or flow.
Right.
But this is almost, it seems like, unlimited in the sense of whatever is out there almost, so to speak, that people know about, they can find you and your content.
Yeah.
In other words, it's not just limited to a particular flow or stream.
Right, and it's evergreen. It can live on forever.
That's really important.
If you missed the show on Sunday night on CBS, you've probably missed it, really.
Yeah, right. So you can.
But this content is evergreen. Wow. Plus the way it's distributed and coded and stuff. Yeah. If you speak about name a topic that
the prophetic.
Sure. if someone goes into their favorite search engine and types in prophetic and something else, let's say, your content will come up because we've coded it that way to show up. And then that person clicks right into OVTV. The exciting thing too is once they're inside of OVTV, they see the rest of the ministry's capabilities, right?
Let me ask you this, so, you know, God, I really believe, is looking for leaders, right?
Yeah.
Especially with all the things that's happening within the nations, you know, the confusion, the fear-mongering that comes through, you know, a lot of the media, and unfortunately, there's Christians that are picking up on some of the same rhetoric, and there's this unbelief and fear, and so it requires us to be in the anointing, bold, and that's not always popular. I hate to say it, it's not just not popular sometimes in the secular sense, but it's not popular within the religious community because you're speaking bold, and there's a cancel culture out there that wants to shut you down, shut you up. So how does this work in the cancel culture, the woke culture, that man is going after anything that's speaking truth or has any element of boldness and a stance? How are we protected, so to speak, in that, or how is that unique?
Yeah, well, since the network is I guess a private network, so to speak.
That's really good.
I mean, clearly you want to stay within the boundaries of legal things.
Sure, we understand.
Yeah. But no, you are protected from being banned or canceled or put on a spam watch or something like that.
Yes, right.
And it's the way it's been architected, it just can't happen.
Right.
I'm not sure. There's more stuff behind that to explain that. But
Well,
Brian,
and that's
go ahead.
true, because I think that's where a lot of ministries are right now.
Right.
They're feeling like if they err, you know,
Yeah.
even if they talk about moral issues or anything,
Exactly.
they can be pulled at any moment.
Yeah.
And so there's a lot of buzz about that in
Or
the
certain
ministry
trigger
world.
words that you can't say.
who knows? And you know what the
Exactly.
problem is too, is if you're a ministry or a nonprofit, we mainly work with nonprofits and ministries. We have for years.
Yeah.
If you're building your business on someone else's platform, you're kind of asking for trouble. Because you unless your name is Zuckerberg
Yeah.
or
Yeah.
Gates,
Right.
you don't own that platform.
True.
That's true.
And so you're risking your business. A lot of people say, I want more YouTube followers, more Facebook followers, and that's great.
Yeah.
But if you depend on that for the livelihood of your message or your business,
Right.
there's a huge risk there.
Yes.
So this is exciting because when people come into OVTV, they're being fed spiritually. They're getting entertained. You know, we'll be able to watch exciting things like this, which I think is
so
amazing.
how would that work, Brian? Like for something like
Just
that?
do our own
So you could have your
programs.
own programs. You can have where people could go in specifically for
Yeah.
that.
OVTV has channels. So
Okay.
it could have the
That's
different channels for different programs, or it's a channel for youth. And once you're in that channel, you can dive in and see all of that content.
Bring
This is
Bring
exciting
a
now.
channel with my singing.
I like that. I like
Nobody
that.
will even
No.
We'll put
click
that
on
at
it.
the very
They won't
top.
go to
Yeah,
that.
right.
Very
Nobody will
top.
click
But Brian,
on.
let me ask
Anyway.
you, because, and I know so many of
great.
you, the viewers, have, you know, there's certain things you look for, as Brian had just described. But I see so many people maybe on Facebook and comments or YouTube that will say, you know, it's glitching or there's struggle or this. And I know things are based on people's tone. And a lot of issue with
I can
that.
talk to this all day long.
I would love to
But
hear it.
I would
You
love,
got me
because,
intrigued.
you know, a lot of people, and sometimes people are like, is that Facebook? Is that,
Yeah.
you know, their band? Are they doing? And I know
Yeah.
that's a concern for so many people. You just want to watch it without something always going wrong. Can you talk to that piece for a
You're
minute?
getting me wound up
I
now.
will.
Please.
I
mean,
will.
Brian, this
I
is
want to hear.
This is a great
Because
question.
I know this is
Yeah.
what our
Well, here's the-
watchers and
this
is
viewers want to
important.
When
hear.
you walk in a room and you flip the light switch on, you expect the lights to come on.
Yes.
You don't want to wait. Sometimes they have to warm up, I guess. But you know, you'd rather them come on right away, and you're used to that, to the point where you just don't even realize anymore. We've been working with video and streaming and technology for many, many years. I'm a graduate from Oral Roberts University. I worked for Oral.
Yeah, I love
I was
Dr.
I was his
Roberts.
I was his head cameraman,
Oh, wonderful.
and I
Oh,
was
yeah,
up in the
we
prayer
love
tower
him.
with him.
Oh, that's
When he was in the
awesome.
prayer tower praying, I was with him the whole time, and so I have a background in technology and broadcasting. So what you said is really important to me, because if someone is in Omaha, I'll make that up,
Yes.
Yeah.
and they go there one time and it doesn't work for them, they probably won't come back.
Right.
So we want the experience to be seamless and easy. So
That's really
OVTV
good. Wow.
is built on a global this is geeky now, content delivery network. In fact, multiple content delivery networks. So when someone comes in and clicks and watches a video, within milliseconds, OVTV senses where they are. Okay, you're in Nebraska. It takes you want to watch Matt's podcast.
Yes.
It finds it from a server near Omaha and immediately just sends it to that person's device from the closest place possible. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Not
yes.
from across the world, from the
Yes.
closest place.
Wow.
But if they're in New York, it comes from a New York server. If they're in LA, it comes from LA. If they're in Mumbai, from a Mumbai server.
Oh, wow.
This way we can make sure. Now, what if they're on a little flip phone in Africa?
Yeah.
Well, we have technology that transcodes it down to a lower bit rate,
Yes.
so even they can enjoy the content.
And I think a lot of people understand
Right.
what that means.
We had the opportunity to work with Andrew Womack a few years
it.
ago,
Yes.
and when we built Gospel Truth TV with him, we made an audio-only version of the network because we got word from people in places where they can't even watch video on their phones, but they can listen.
But they can hear.
So we turned the whole video network into an audio program so they could listen on audio. So it's really important, Pastor, that no matter where someone is, no matter what their technology is, we want it to be easy for them to access and we call it consuming, right? We want them to consume that content.
Yes.
So they're not going to have the whatever that thing that I know you know what I'm talking about that goes around
spinning,
and
the
around and
spin.
around. You get dizzy just looking at it. So we're not going to see that.
We certainly hope not.
Hope not.
We're certainly doing everything we can. It's such a high priority
Yeah.
for us.
Yeah.
But it's rare. It's not like
Right.
most of what people
So,
say.
so here's the thing that I think, and I want to encourage everybody that's joining us today. We're doing free giveaway as we get ready to launch this. We're giving away an iPad, and so we have a splash page already. We haven't built the full website yet because we're just getting all of you who are friends of One Voice Ministries and Hank and Brenda to come on in and connect to this. So go to the splash page. It's at onevoicetv.net.
That's right.
And if you would just jump right out there and you fill out your name and get subscribed, you can have the
Yeah.
opportunity to win that iPad because everybody needs one of
And there's
those.
a little screenshot of One Voice TV on that page.
Yes.
That's awesome.
It's a little, it's not, doesn't do anything, it's just a little picture, but they
Yes.
can kind of get an idea what it looks like.
So we want to get your name and your information so that we'll do the drawing, and all of you that are excited about the prophetic, and Hank, you mentioned you're going to be launching the new show where Hank just gets on and ministers and talks in terms of the prophetic. I know many of you follow the Prophetic Pulse. That will be out there as well. But it'll be so good for you to connect to that. So go onevoicetv.net and get your name in there.
And why that's important, we want you to connect because one of the things the Lord said to us when he told us to really get out there, and we didn't even know how to really talk to a camera in those days. Remember that, Brenda?
Yeah, it was the
We'd
early
be like
time.
this, the camera would be there and I'd be froze. And but God said, he said, I want to connect people just like you to the word of the Lord. And what's so unique about this, Brian, is at any given time that we feel something from God in his heart, because the sacred heart of God is the most important thing to me, is communicating what he's saying. At any given moment we can send it out there to you without it being shut down and censored
Or delayed.
And I like what Brenda said, OVTV is so important because we can platform without being deplatformed. But here's the other thing, and I was sharing this with you earlier, Brian, about how thankful I am for all the work that you're doing and you've done. I mean, it's brilliant what they've put together. We want you to be a part, plus we want you to win that iPad. But the thing is, the Lord said this to me, and I share this with you. Think about Jesus when he was in the temple, when he was in the synagogue, how many times they tried to shut him up, quiet him, remove him, question him, and really try to change his message. Have you ever wondered why Jesus would go out to a sermon on top of a mount, a rock even? He would sit down and begin to preach, or go into a boat. It was to create his own voice for the Father, his own platform that wasn't subject to always the criticism, the censoring of those who should have known the word at that time, but they were trying to control what Jesus was saying. And so in the same way, that's what God is doing with OVTV, and we're so excited that you are joining with us. And Brian, thank you so much for what you've done.
Well,
I mean,
and I want to
anything
just
else?
say, I'm
Yeah.
going to let you have the final word. I want to say one thing that I am so excited, and this is to me so important because, you know, a lot of people know Hank and I for ministering in the prophetic, especially Hank, you know, having timely, the prophetic word, and so many of you that pray for us, our intercessors, all of our viewers, you're prophetic in nature, and you know how timely the word of the Lord is when it's for a nation or, you know, cities. And the one drawback to broadcast television is the time of production and, of course, the airtime. So, you know, we've done broadcast TV internationally for about 10 years, not as long as you've been in this, but
Expert, Dr. Roberts. Wow.
But since 2014, we aired our first broadcast program, and you know the production time it takes, and from the time you produce that to the time it goes to air, sometimes can be several months, and people don't realize that that's what it takes, and then you're subject to that network's airtime schedule. So this will allow us some flexibility to be able to get things out in a timely manner, and when God speaks them, and when the team out there and those of you that watch can pray these things through. So I think that's amazing. So I'll let you.
Well, as you're talking, I'm getting so excited because God couldn't have put this timing together any better. Because as we sit here in 2022, you know, technology has reached a point where it's easier to make distribution of content. Here, the Lord's given you guys and your team amazing messages and words to you have the content. So now we have the content with the distribution, and it works. Years ago, it was so difficult.
Yes.
And only in the last few years has it become this much. I mean, you can produce a film on an iPhone now.
Yes,
but that was you know, my grandparents were preachers and pastors. In fact, in the Assembly of God, and my grandmother created the Missionettes program. It was a young girls program.
Oh, I've heard of it.
And stuff, and they've passed on, but they always prayed. I remember growing up, my grandparents saying, well, you know, they were pastors, my uncles were pastors. Well, clearly, Brian, you're going to be a pastor one day, and I know they prayed for that. But then I went into technology, and it was about 5-6 years ago. My mom called one day and said, you know, our prayers came true because you are a minister, because God is using these mediums, technology, to get the word out. Within moments, you can be on every single platform with One Voice TV in front of millions and millions of people. We had a call last night with a platform called Reddit. It's a social media platform.
Yes, I've heard of it.
They have 400 million people a month visiting that website. Wow. Now that's not where One Voice is going to be, but I'm saying there's so many people, and this is a great opportunity to bring everything together. I just think it's just God's timing.
Wow. It is.
Too. And I think the church is realizing that timing.
That's right.
Because, you know, we've got to seize the moment. And, you know, I think if anything, the pandemic taught the church is that we have to be in the now. And, you know, the church so much, and I know you could know this so much more than I do, has almost been afraid of technology. We've been afraid of the latest.
Or they do it halfway.
And so we just kind of, you know,
I'm not a fan of that.
Yeah, dance on the beach. And I think it's time to just be all in.
This is going to be a very quality thing that we're doing. And that's what I appreciate about the level of excellence that you bring. Yeah. But, you know, Brenda, one thing that I want to say as we close is, you know, I always listen to what I feel God is saying. And so you would remember this, you know, 20 some years ago. Brenda and I have been married 33 years. Coming up in July, and people had said, you know, you're going to be on TV, your voice is going to be heard around the world, and we would think, oh, well, you know,
and it was hard then.
Yeah, and we would think, okay, well, it might be God, might not be God, because at that time we were not feeling it, and I didn't want to do anything with TV until God really dropped it in my heart. Well, then we started hearing words, Brian. It was the craziest thing. They said, you're going to have your own, and they would say, it's like a network, but it's not going to be like what you think a network is. And we kept hearing this for, you know, years.
Because people couldn't make that
they couldn't make it because
connection.
it wasn't anything that was happening at that time. But here God was already releasing prophetically. He doesn't do anything in the earth without revealing it through his servants, the prophets, or prophetically, because it gives birth to it. God was already giving birth. And Brent and I were sitting there going, well, what does that word mean? And it came from more than one
But that's how we
prophetic
knew,
vessel.
and that's how so many
That's
of you
why
jumped
we are
on.
in the will of God, like you said.
Pastor
I-
Christy Harris, she's our producer, and she said, you know, we need to launch this network, and we remembered those prophecies.
words,
Your team, none of this would be possible without your amazing team.
They're amazing.
We've been working with Pastor Christy and Anthony and Pastor Shane and others, but primarily those three. And it's been such an easy experience.
Wow.
And you've got an amazing team, so kudos to that.
They're
them.
first class.
Yeah.
We love them.
Let's tell our people.
Well, thank you for joining us. So go out, Brian Boyd, thank you. And go out to onevoicetv.net, spell it out, onevoicetv.net, and get out there and win that iPad. And we have so many more exciting things to come. And Hank and I are going to continue to talk about One Voice TV, OVTV, and you're going to be hearing more and more. So make sure you also join us. If you're brand new and you don't join us for services at Lord of Hosts Church, you can join us every Sunday and Wednesday. Sundays we're on at 9 and 11:30, and God moves at Lord of Hosts Church. And so we want to invite you, and you're going to hear so much more about the network, so much more about what God's doing, and the latest prophetic words at hankandbrenda.org. God bless you.
bless you.
Thank you for joining us, everybody. Let's wave at this last camera. Bye-bye.
Okay, bye-bye.
God bless you.